All right, let's get into it. So, I'm going to talk about Raiders of the Lost Ark, released in 1981, created by George Lucas, directed by Steven Spielberg. Okay, um, key points. Now, this was the first entry of Indiana Jones, and I thought it did an incredible job of establishing the lore and pushing the narrative. Um, Quick thoughts about it. Very, very exciting. That's some serious top-notch movie making. The excitement was there, the danger was there. There was all kinds of things that kind of pulled you in as the viewer. And so also establishing the love interest of Marion Ravenwood, which is probably the best girl in the franchise as far as the Indiana Jones. Also Coleman from Trading Places, Dunholm Elliott, who plays um, Brody, Mr. Brody, who is his assistant and friend of the college. Villains were very interesting. The Nazis that they pretty much went against in that movie. That movie hits. Has a great cast. Has a great feel to it. Has a level of excitement and kind of a passion project, and I could tell that Harrison Ford really liked this project. It definitely catapulted a lot more movies for the future, especially with this last one that came out with the Dial of Destiny. Now we're talking about the Temple of Doom. One thing about this movie that kind of stood out to me was the hokiness of it, but it was still fun. Still a good movie. Probably my least favorite of all the original. So it was my least favorite of the original, but it was still pretty dope. So that being said, like, you had the one that played Short Round, which was a cool addition to the movie, and you had Willie, so Wilhelmina, and for me, she was just too loud and just all over the place for me. It was kind of like my least favorite of the romantic interests of Indiana Jones, just kind of loud and obnoxious for me. But it was still a good movie. Still a good movie. Probably the hokiest of the original trilogy, but definitely they kind of brought it. It was pretty death-defying. There were some interesting cuts where had a dude strapped in some kind of like chamber and then sacrificing it to their god. It's just like, yeah, it was pretty intense. A lot of early on type of vibes with Indiana Jones was where he had more of a chase kind of nature to it, where he wasn't like it belongs in a museum. No, he was like, let's pocket the cash. I see some things that could make me very wealthy. So there's elements of that, especially like where he got the diamonds from the altar or some shit. He was trying to bag them all, man. So the early youthful exploits of Indiana Jones was when this happened. So they were definitely trying to push that lure and narrative for that, which I thought was cool. Everything else was a little rough. Like, there was a sequence where they had to hop. I think it was they had to hop the plane, and there was no parachute, and so Willie, Short Round, and Indiana found some kind of boat, right? They found a boat, had to jump on the damn boat, and then they basically took the boat down until they struck a river, and then it was an insane sequence that just screamed hokey. That's the level of hokiness that runs across the Indiana Jones universe, which I find very interesting, you know. So I wanted to bring that part up and thought there's just little things about that. Like, even in Crystal Skull, where you see Shia LaBeouf's character swinging across with some monkeys like he's Tarzan. That was the worst. That was the worst thing you could do to Indiana Jones for me. It was just like, what do we got? His son playing Tarzan, and just that whole narrative. I was kind of, don't get me wrong, I like Shia LaBeouf, but not not for Indiana Jones. That was a little rough for me. And the way they kind of played it for Dial of Destiny worked out in its favor. So I'm just gonna keep it there with that. Now let's get into The Last Crusade. Now The Last Crusade is very interesting. So now The Last Crusade more goes into the biblical lore. So The Last Crusade is my favorite out of the original trilogy of Indiana Jones. And this also adds Sean Connery to the cast, which is an awesome dynamic with Harrison Ford, him playing his father, Dr. Henry Jones. And you have Sean Connery calling him Junior throughout the film, like Junior, you know. But yeah, man, just really a lot of cool shit going on for The Last Crusade. And this time they are focused the Holy Grail. So they're focused on the Holy Grail and the tests in order to gain the Holy Grail. And yeah, a lot of cool shit in this movie. Even his love interest had conflicting interests, where she winds up kind of on the other side of the fence, you know, where she's like a Nazi, and Harrison Ford's having love problems with her throughout the film after that, where there's still a chemistry, and he's like, I don't want nothing to do with you, but I want something to do with you, but I can't, you know. There's that level of cool chemistry, far better than the Temple of Doom girl. I still think Marion Ravenwood is his main love interest, but there was really cool dynamics with there. There was higher stakes. Wasn't as hokey as some of the certain scenes that I've seen in the original trilogy, but yeah, there's just a lot of cool shit in this movie that I really like the scene where he meets the knight that's guarding the Holy Grail. That's cool. He has to figure out like certain things from his dad's book as to how he gets across certain shit in you know, to get to the Holy Grail. That movie is probably my favorite of them all. You know, mentioning the name of God and all that kind of stuff is just some cool shit to me. I thought that was awesome. But anyway, yeah. So out of all these movies, I really gotta say, I really have to reiterate, it's The Last Crusade. Everything about where Indiana gets his hat, to Indiana searching for his father, running into a squad of assassins, to solving riddles in the middle of a library. All this cool shit that it was just very puzzle-like, and it was probably the most puzzle-like movie of all the franchise as far as the first 3 films that he did in the original saga. So that's my take on that. Like, comment, and subscribe with your boy, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.